Mrs. Chester was unhappy in Pollensa Bay. It was not going to be made easy for her to consult me.
Why is it Mr. Parker Pine, the one and only Mr. Parker Pine? He's the marvel of the century. All your troubles will be washed away. Did you not know, Parker? He'll fix everything.
My boy, Mr. Parker Pine. You must save him. We must save him. It's breaking my heart.
My dear lady is a mere outsider.
Nina Wycherley said you could do anything. And she told me I must have the utmost confidence in you and I should tell you everything.
Well, let us thrash the matter out. The girl, yes?
He told you about her?
Only indirectly.
She's terrible. She drinks, she wears no clothes that she can speak of. She's living with your sister out here and she's married to a Dutchman. And they have them, the whole set is just undesirable. And my boy Basil, he's not like them. He's a good boy. He loves his studies and he's even brought up archaeology.
Well, nature will have her revenge.
What do you mean?
It's unhealthy for a young man to be interested in serious subjects. He ought to be making an idiot of himself. After one girl, after another.
Please, be serious, Mr. Pine.
I'm perfectly serious. Is the young lady by any chance the one having tea with you yesterday?
You saw her? This is not the kind of girl that Basil has ever admired.
You haven't given him much of a chance to admire a girl, have you?
I?
He's been too fond of your company. Bad. I dare say he'll get over this, if you don't precipitate things.
But you don't understand. He wants to marry this girl, Betty Gregg. They're engaged.
It's gone as far as that.
Mr. Parker Pine, you must do something. You must get my boy out of this entire situation. His whole life will be ruined.
Nobody's life can be ruined except by himself.
Basil's will be.
I'm not worried about Basil.
You're worried about the girl?
No, I'm worried about you. What are the years from 20 to 40? Fettered by personal and emotional relationships. That's gonna happen. That's life. But after 40, there's a new stage. A stage where you learn the truth about yourself, discover things about others. You see life as a whole, significant, not just the one scene that you as an actor are part of. Nobody is ever himself or herself until after 45. That's when individuality has a chance.
But Basil's been everything to me.
That's your fault. You're paying for it now. You have to remember you're a person, Adele Chester, not just Basil's mom.
But it will break my heart if Basil's life is ruined.
I'll see what I can do.
This business is just being hellish. Mother's hopeless, prejudiced, narrow-minded. If only she'd let herself, she'd see how fine Betty is.
And Betty.
Betty's being damn difficult. If she'd just conform a bit. I mean, leave off the lipstick for a day. It might make all the difference in the world. She seems to go out of her way to be modern. And Mother's about. Betty and Mother are two of the most dearest people in the world. I should have thought that they would have taken to each other like hotcakes.
You've a lot to learn, young man.
I wish you'd come along and see Betty and have a talk about it.
All right. So you're in on the big bust-up. And whose side are you on? The young lovers or the disapproving date?
Let me ask you a question, Betty.
Certainly.
You've been very tactful about all this.
Not at all, but the old cat put my back up. She's kept Basil tied around her apron strings all these years. That sort of thing really makes a man look like a fool. Basil's not a fool, really. She's so terribly puka-sahi.
That's not such a bad thing. It's merely unfashionable at the present.
So you mean it's like putting Chippendale chairs in the attic in the Victorian days and then taking them down later and saying, these are marvelous.
Something of the kind.
Perhaps you're right. I'll be honest. It was Basil who put my back up. Being so anxious about what impression I'd make on his mother. It drove me to extremes. Even now, I believe that he'd give me up if his mother worked on him good and hard.
You might, if she went about it the right way.
Are you going to tell her the right way? She'll never think of it herself, you know. She'll just keep on disapproving, and that'll never do the trick. But if you prompted her... I've heard of you, Mr. Parker. You're supposed to know something about human nature. Do you think Basil and I can make a go of it?
Let me ask you 3 questions.
Suitability test? All right, go ahead.
Do you sleep with the window open or closed?
Open. I like lots of air.
Do you and Basil like to eat the same type of food?
Yes.
Do you go to bed early or late?
Really, under the rose, early. At 10:30, I yawn, and in the mornings I feel hearty, but I dare admit it.
You ought to suit each other quite well.
Rather a superficial test.
Not at all. I've known at least 7 marriages completely destroyed because the husband liked to sit up past midnight while the wife conked out 9:30.
It's a pity everybody can't be happy. Basil and I, and his mother giving us her blessing.
That might be arranged.
Now, I wonder if you're double-crossing me.
Miss Chester, remember, an engagement is not a marriage. I myself am going to Sulla for a week, and I would advise that your actions at least appear to be non-committal, look like acquiescence. Farewell.
Basil, you are very late. You were supposed to have taken Betty to Max.
My fault, we just drifted. Terrible island this is. I was just dying of boredom before I met Basil. He is rather a pest.
Miss Ramona, Mr. Parker Pine.
Pleasure.
I guess I'll call you Parker almost at once. My name is Dolores. I guess I'll be going now. Anyone want to see me home?
I'll come with you.
Oh, Basil.
Don't worry, Mother. I'll be back.
Isn't he a mother's boy? You just tune around after him, don't you?
Well, what do you think about our new acquisition in Pollensa Bay?
A bit exotic.
Exotic.
She's terrible, terrible. Basil must be quite mad.
Basil's alright. Well, Miss Chester, I think we're gonna go. I'd rather not stay for dinner tonight after all.
Oh, Betty, Basil will be so disappointed.
Really? I think I will go anyway. I have rather a headache.
I wish we would have never come to this place. Never. You shouldn't have gone away. This wouldn't have happened if you weren't here.
My dear lady, I can assure you that when it comes to a young woman who's as beautiful as that one, I shall have no influence over your son whatsoever. He seems to be of a very susceptible nature.
He never used to be.
Well, this new attraction seems to at least broken the back of his infatuation with Miss Gregg. That should be of some satisfaction to you.
Betty's wonderful, and she's so devoted to Basil. I just wish Dolores wasn't here. I think my boy must be mad.
Not mad exactly, just bewitched,
This creature's a dago, she's impossible.
but extremely good looking.
Hello, Mother. Where's Betty?
She's gone home with a headache. I don't wonder.
Sulking, you mean?
No, she's not sulking. You're being very extremely unkind to her.
For God's sake, Mother, don't jaw. If Betty is going to make a fuss every time I, speak to another girl, what a nice sort of life we're going to live together.
You are engaged.
Oh. we're engaged, all right. That doesn't mean that we're going to make any friends. Nowadays, people lead that kind of life. So, sorry. Look here, if Betty isn't going to dine with us, I don't think I'll go back to Mariposa. They did ask for me to dine.
Oh, Basil.
Oh, Miss Chester, is Basil coming down for our meeting?
Oh, Betty, dear, I must apologize for him. I think he's forgotten. He went out for the day with Miss Ramona's party.
Oh, I see. It's quite all right. But it's probably best to call the whole thing off. Will you give this to him and tell him it's all right, not to worry?
But Betty, dear, he really does love you.
It looks like it doesn't. Well, I've got some pride. Just tell him everything's all right, and I wish him luck.
Well, is that how she feels? I dare say it's the best thing.
Basil.
Well, frankly, Mother, we don't seem to be hitting it off like that.
Whose fault is that?
It's not my fault. Like, I really don't see what's the big deal. You told me yourself not to marry her.
That was before I knew her. Basil, my dear, you're not thinking of marrying this other creature, are you?
I'd marry her in a shot if she would let me. But I'm afraid she won't.
You must do something. You must do something. My boy's life will be ruined.
What can I do?
Go and see the terrible creature. If necessary, buy her off.
That may come very expensive.
I don't care.
Well, there may be other ways to handle this.
Really?
Yes, I'll make no promises, but I have handled this type before. Meanwhile, not one word to Basil. That would be fatal.
Of course not.
Well, the Senorita Dolores Ramona will be leaving Pollensa tomorrow morning and the island tomorrow night.
Oh, Mr. Porcupine, how did you manage it?
I rather fancied I might have a hold over her, and I was right.
You were wonderful. Nina Wycherly was right. You must let me know your fees.
Not a penny. It has been a pleasure. I hope all goes well. The boy will be upset at first. She's disappeared without leaving an address. Just go easy on him for a week or two.
If only Betty would forgive him.
Of course she'll forgive him. They're a nice couple. By the way, I am also leaving tomorrow morning.
Oh, Mr. Porcupine will miss you.
Perhaps 'tis just as well. I should leave before that boy of yours becomes infatuated with yet a third girl. A nice piece of work, Madeline. I'm glad I wired you out. It's odd when you're such a quiet, stay-at-home girl, really.
I'm glad you're pleased, Mr. Parker-Pine. It's been a nice little change. I think I'll go below now and get to bed before the boat starts. I'm a bad sailor.
Had to come see you off, Mr. Parker-Pine, and give you Betty's love and our thanks. That was a grand stunt of yours. I mean, Betty and Mother are as thick as thieves. I mean, it seemed a shame to deceive the old darling, but she was being difficult. Anyway, you know, it's all right now. Just don't have to put up those things for a couple of days longer. At no end, we are very thankful, Betty and I.
I wish you every happiness.
Thanks. Is Miss DeSara, is she's anywhere about?
I'm afraid Mr. Sarah's gone to bed.
Oh well, I guess I'll see her in London sometime.
I'm afraid Mr. Sarah is about to leave for America on business for me.
Okay. Well, thanks. See you next time.
How are you, my dear? I'm afraid our young friend has been along. The usual slight attack of Madelinitis. You'll be all right in a couple days. But you are rather distracted.